Welcome to Everyday Superhumans, the podcast to restore your faith in humanity. And I'm Charlie.
And I am Kyle.
And you are hungry.
And I am very hungry right now. This is actually our second take in this intro because I was talking about how hungry I was last take. Yeah.
Well, we're going to get something.
Yes, we will.
What Austin restaurant are we going to tonight?
Mooney's Burgers. It's the best burgers in North Austin. If you haven't been there yet,
I haven't.
Please sponsor our podcast, Mooney's Burgers, because you guys are fantastic.
Burgers.
But before we get to the food, we got to get down to business.
Yeah, and the business of this sweet episode.
And this sweet episode, we are speaking to J.A.M.I.E. Wait.
A sweet person.
A sweet person, yes. We're speaking to a sweet person, J.A.M.I.E. Shanabaum. She is the co-founder and director of the J.A.M.I.E. Group, which is an acronym that stands for Joint Advocacy, Meningitis, Information, and Education.
Say that.
No, I can't say it one time fast. Joint Advocacy and Meningitis, Information, and Education.
That's why I only said 5 times. I wasn't even going to go to 10 times.
But despite the acronym being hard to say when you're on an empty stomach, the group has done wonderful work in terms of education for meningitis and the meningitis vaccine. Yeah,
it was really cool to hear her story, especially since everything happened in college, too.
Well, do you want to say what happened?
No.
Spoiler alert, she gets meningitis and it changes her life, and now she's an advocate for the vaccine.
Well, there you go. There you go. But, I mean, her personality is just, she should be a stand-up comedian.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure. She's super funny. Really fun interview. Really interesting interview. We speak to her about not only how has the advocacy helped people, but also her time in the Paralympics. Mm-hmm. Like, she is just like an all-around, just like interesting person. Mm-hmm. And I wish our interview went longer. I wanted to go longer, but just like tonight, we were recording it while we were on an empty stomach and we had to end it early.
Yeah.
Let's get to one of the most inspiring and really interesting and cool and informative guests we've ever had.
Very raw.
Yes.
We go deep. Deep in it.
Yeah, we usually start at the beginning. How did you get involved in it? And I guess your case, how did you create the J.A.M.I.E. group? Where did it come from?
Right. So, me, Jamie Sham, I'm currently 28. I'm about to be 29 in a couple of days. And when I was 20, I was in school at UT, and I got sick with meningitis. About 7 months later, I got out of the hospital. This is obviously a very long story short.
Yeah.
Mm.
And when we got out, we were active in the Capitol about passing laws, and then at the same time, we wanted to provide a voice to the local communities when it comes to meningitis, because I was a person who didn't know anything about meningitis. Like, I know the name of it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about meningitis.
When I saw it, when I was before all this, I was like, meningitis, that's something they suggest for me to get, maybe.
Yeah.
But, that's optional.
Yeah, I know it's like a meningitis shot.
Yes.
Exactly. I guess the next obvious question is, we haven't gone through the entire history yet.
We have already a lot of questions.
I like it.
So we will let you speak.
So when I was in the hospital, my mom was basically moved in. I think she canceled her lease and just moved in because she was already staying there every night, being awesome. And so she was a voice of reasoning when it came to advocating in the Capitol. So I would say that she mainly got this idea of why did this happen to my daughter? Mm-hmm. And I also am saying the same thing, why did this happen to me? And then we proceeded, why does this have to keep happening to others if we can get the information out there? Mm-hmm. So that's why we thought of the J.A.M.I.E. group. And luckily, my name works for acronyms. Joint Advocacy of Meningitis, Information, and Education, which is pretty sweet.
No,
that's
perfect.
really cool. I mean, your name, I always like the name Jamie.
Thank you.
But that really just suits everything.
Thank you. And it's been, really exciting. It definitely, at first, passing the 501c3 was definitely difficult. But at the same time, I was so in a weak place. Mm-hmm. Think about it. Right after the hospital, so I got sick in November, didn't get out until May of 2009. Wow. And in February of 2009 is when I got my amputations. So it was months after that, and I finally getting out. I looked like a frail bird, like a metaphor, like really dangly looking and no hair, like what's going on. And I was also in a wheelchair, and they were like, go live your life. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
This is new.
Yeah,
this is all new.
I remember getting fitted for prosthetics, and I stood up for the first time. They're like, how does that feel? I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like,
You have nothing to compare it to.
Nothing to compare this to. I'm excited that there is something below there, because I remember waking up from that surgery.
Oh.
I'm a comedic person, I will say that. And I remember waking up and being like, well, my feet are not there anymore. Because
that would be so... I can't even imagine.
I know. It's really intense. I mean, it was definitely a hard time, but I was also really aware and also obviously really medicated. And I was really optimistic.
I know how it feels.
Yes, I was just like okay with what was going on. I was like, okay, amputations, like, let's do it. I got to get back to school. Like, come on. Let's speed up the process. And then, so that was like in the first couple of weeks when I was in there, so November of 2008. And then they're telling me, hey, it is official, like, you are getting amputations. And I would say that was one of the more sad days, because it was like the serious talk, like, J.A.M.I.E, it's happening. And my sister's there, and she's crying. My mom's crying, I'm crying. Not like bawling or anything. I'm going to be like straight up and be real about it. But in the end, like, it was intense. But at the same time, I was getting lots of surgeries every week, cleaning my legs and whatnot, because when you get meningitis, let's get into that really quick. When you get meningitis, it's a bacterial infection. And for me, it's November. Seasons are changing. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm studying hard. I'm also partying hard, enjoying myself. And I guess I got sick like a cold, and that's what gets the bacteria into your bloodstream, because you can actually be holding the meningitis bacteria for months.
Yeah, I was reading that on your website. I was surprised to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
Not to interrupt too much, but on your website you mentioned that 10% of everybody has like the strain somewhere on them, and it kind of made me think like how like staph is kind of the same way. Like usually like everybody has staph on it, but it's only bad if it gets somewhere else in the body where it doesn't belong.
Right, exactly. It's just like that, actually. And so for me, like, I was very lucky, arguably, because obviously I could have died, you know. With meningitis, you can become blind, deaf, mentally disabled, and you have internal organ failures or amputations or death, you know. And luckily, I just have amputations. I know lots of people who get meningitis, and they have amputations too, but they have to take so many pills every day just so that their organs function.
Does it just attack everywhere?
Yeah.
What does it do?
So obviously, it's a bacterial infection, so that it becomes like a... Oh my gosh, what do you call it? Something eating disease, like
flushing bacteria.
Yes,
flushing disease.
So basically, my limbs became from red rash to purple to black to literally dead. I was half alive and half dead, and watched my limbs decay for months. Like I said, I got in the hospital in November, didn't get amputated until February. Like, you lifted up the sheets from my legs, it smelled bad. It was weird. I remember, and I was also really medicated, and this is why I'm going to say this, because there was a doctor there, and he was like, hey, he was kind of a little too blunt, and he was like, hey, these are not coming back. Let me show you how infected they are. Gets a knife and cuts it out. My leg, like a little baseball, cuts it out. And it was completely green. It wasn't bleeding. There was nothing there. And at the same time, I was like, oh my God. And it didn't hurt at all. I mean, he was proving a point, but a little intense.
Yeah, that's like saying from a TV show.
You're like, I mean, this sounds really terrible, but
Please.
You're
go on.
You're rotting, kind of.
Yeah,
basically,
half alive,
you're rotting.
Dead. Yeah, like if let's say somehow I was able to walk, like let's say my legs were not affected, my hands were, which looked like raisins and just curled up and gross. If I was walking and fell and caught myself with my hands, my fingers would fall off, which is very gross, but that literally happens.
Okay. My biggest fear of all times is getting a flushing bacteria.
Yeah, well, it's
like
a good one.
That, like, how did you deal with this mentally?
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that's really like sustained throughout the process is my personality. And if you could see this shining personality going through meningitis. I mean, nothing really changed when it came to the support. My family was there. They kept it, real, and that's how I like it. I don't like to, like, what do you call it?
Fake?
Brush it under the rug sort of thing. And my friends came and visited me all the time, and they were just very cool and just kept me honest, and I was able to joke whenever I could. There were definitely hard times. It's not like it was all laughter and I'm shooting the shit.
It's not like some like goofy comedy.
Yeah, it was difficult. In the first couple of weeks, I wasn't like communicating. I was put on a ventilator immediately and dialysis immediately, which is they start like going through your blood system and cleaning it out. And I had tubes in my mouth. Like I wasn't able to talk. I looked swollen. It looked bad. Like my mom was telling them, hey, Jamie's sick. She's in the hospital. You should come and see her. People think, oh, she's going to be like sitting up, hanging out. And they come in and they see my body's decaying. I have tubes in my mouth. It was heavy. But yeah, somehow I had a good personality about it.
Well,
but yeah, go on.
I was going to say, there's just I remember reading this research a while ago that people's happiness levels don't really change that much, even like if they like a better life or a worse life. Like after a couple months, it just kind of like stabilizes back to how it used to be. So I guess
that's interesting. And I believe it.
Yeah, it seems that your personality definitely powered through.
Yeah, it was definitely hard, to say the least. But the recovery, it's so funny. Like being in the hospital, I wasn't getting around. Like my physical therapy was moving my arms. That's what it was. And so I was fixed in a hospital bed for months, and my view out the window was the same. I didn't get to go to the window and look around. I had the same view for months. And then when I was finally getting up, it was like bizarre and weird. And obviously that was when I was leaving the hospital. But it was like a surreal experience. Like my family was like, that's the Starbucks we would go to. This is where we would go over here.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I would just be like, I have no idea. I'm like, this was my life for so long. It was like a weird study abroad experience. No fun time.
Study
being like
in abroad
into a new
kind.
place. Yeah, not the best studying abroad.
But you took a scary moment into a positive with that nonprofit.
And I'm really glad that I did, and I don't blame them. I don't blame people who go through really intense experience and don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think it's because my personality, and also I'm always a student that wants to present and wants to go first, and it's like, get that behind me. And with that being said, the opportunity just came to me, and I was like, I would love to speak about it, and I'm not like shy about it. I know that can be an emotional subject. One time I gave a presentation in class when I was at UT, and I would always offer it to his teachers, like get some good education, why not? And there was a student there who started having a panic attack, like right in front of me. And I wasn't going to address that because that would make it a little bit worse probably. But, people just have different reactions, and it's very heavy stuff, and I don't blame them. So, but yeah, it was a crazy experience, and it's been almost 9 years, and it's weird to look back and say that. And I've gone through a lot, and I'm really proud of myself and becoming an adult. It's real. I just got a house for people who didn't hear the conversation.
We are in your house.
Yeah, we're
right
in
now.
your new house. It's a nice house.
Thanks. I'm adulting. #adulting. But yeah, if I can go back to it, my mom has been there like so much throughout the process of it. She's the one that like got me to meet the right people. Like when I was still in the hospital, my mom advocated in the Texas Capitol to pass a law for college students to be vaccinated. So in 2008, it was mainly my mom. I was there for the ceremonial
I saw that on your website, and one of the questions I actually had was, how hard was it to pass a law?
My mom would know the answer. I mean, I was definitely there, and I heard about it, and I'm listening and providing input, but she was the one that was capable of going to the Capitol and whatnot. It's called the J.A.M.I.E Act, but it should be called My Mom's Awesome Act. And basically in 2008, it was for all college students living in private facilities. So that was like college campus, dorms, Greek houses, things that I was never on, by the way. And I still got meningitis. So it doesn't matter about how close of quarters you are. You could just have an unlucky situation and you get meningitis. Like I did nothing wrong. I was experiencing my life. The only thing I did wrong was not being educated and protecting myself through vaccination. So in 2008, we passed a law for all college students to have the vaccine for meningitis. And I'm going to try and clear this up when it comes, because it gets a little complicated. And I just want to clear it up as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
So since 2005, there's always been one vaccine, and it covers 4 out of the 5 strains. 4 out of the 5. And that's the law that we passed in 2008 for that meningitis vaccine for all college students to get that in private facilities. In 2011, we got the law amended, and it was for all college students in the state of Texas, period, getting the meningitis vaccine. So that was about 325,000 students each year. Since 2011, meningitis vaccine rates have gone up by 50%, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so we're at 80% right now. But anyway, so when it comes to the meningitis vaccines, so there was the one vaccine that's been available since 2005, and that covers 4 out of the 5 strains. There is now a new vaccine called Meningitis B. And that's something that a lot of people might have heard about outbreaks on college campuses because there's not a vaccine for it at the time. And so like college campuses like Portland, Santa Barbara, Princeton, there has been so many different outbreaks because there wasn't a vaccine until 2014.
Was it just not able to be manufactured at the time?
They just didn't have I can't even imagine what it's like to make a vaccine.
Yeah.
I know it takes years to make one.
Yeah.
And Zika, that vaccine, that was groundbreaking how fast that happened. But with the meningitis vaccine, it just took years. And meningitis B is a third of all meningitis cases in the United States.
That's a huge portion.
It's a huge portion. Sorry. And so it's been great that there's 2 vaccines to cover all 5 strains of meningitis. So if you're listening and you're like, I know I got the meningitis vaccine, but I don't know about the second one. Hey, you want to know the answer? Call your doctor.
Yeah, that's how I feel right now, because I know then I was affected by your act because I went to college in 2010.
Great.
So that means I definitely, it was thanks to you, I guess I get the vaccine somewhere in my life. But there's the 5th one, meningitis B.
Yeah,
I might need to check that.
I went to college in Oklahoma.
You're lost. No,
you gotta check their laws. You gotta check with your doctor.
There's so many.
Good luck.
But yeah,
it definitely is scary in a sense of how quickly it happens, because meningitis is also the number 1 fastest killing disease. You can die within 24 hours.
Wow. Okay. Like other than the Bills game passed, what have you done as the leader of the J.A.M.I.E group to educate and I guess testify for this stuff?
I mean, we definitely keep all lines open, like communication, all lines of communication. We definitely want to provide as much educational tools. I mean, it's just as easy as that. Like getting the story out versus like pamphlets, like while they are helpful, but a story. So if you're listening right now, reach out to me on the J.A.M.I.E group website. I will reply. And
we'll throw the link in the show notes.
Thank you. And I will gladly, under the J.A.M.I.E group, come out and share my story, because I can't tell you how many times people are like, whoa, I didn't know meningitis did that. And if I did, I wouldn't have complained about getting the vaccine. Because I used to Uber, and I would meet all these college students going to UT and whatnot. And I would tell them my story if it came up. And they're like, wow, I had no idea. I remember being like, you have to get this vaccine. And I was, getting all upset about it when it was happening. But I'm so glad I got to meet you and learn about it, because what a devastating disease. I mean, I am lucky. Like, yes, I have prosthetics, but it could have been way worse. And also at the time, so my amputations are all of my fingers and both of my legs below the knee. They were considering below the elbows and above the knees, which is a whole other story.
That changed your mobility
so much
entirely.
I have like a half inch of a thumb, and it is, while it's small, it is very beneficial.
Yeah.
Like if you try picking things up with your thumb, it's weird.
Yeah. So imagine your web space, and that's how I'm picking things up.
Okay. You're talking about the fingers.
So then,
when you're picking things up, try doing your web space for a day.
That's what
Did you have to go to physical therapy then to adjust?
Exactly. So my rehab was a very interesting experience. So when I got out, frail bird in a wheelchair, they're like, you can do it. And I'm there, and I actually didn't get fitted for prosthetics for a little while because I still had wounds all over my legs, so there was no point for me to put on legs if I was still recovering.
Yeah, open up the wound.
Yes, exactly. And so they focused on my hands for a little while, and it was like little things. like opening a ramekin.
What's a
By
ramekin?
I learned this word way later in my life. Basically, when you're at a to-go restaurant, it's what they put the sauce in. It's like that small container.
Oh,
Like, how do
okay.
you open that without spilling it all over?
It always
Yes.
spills.
Yeah, and so since I don't have fingers, I use my mouth a lot more to open things and to rip it open.
Yeah.
But so with that involved, I mean, physical therapy was hard. I mean, I speak to St. David's physical therapy students all the time, actually, like probably once or twice a year, and it's awesome because you're meeting people who are going to be dealing with people like me. And I would like to be real. I'm like, hey, you're going to have good days and you're going to have some bad days. Like, I cried a couple different times.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's people, like, I have full function of my limbs, but I remember seeing someone who was fully able-bodied, and she had a stroke. And she was young. She was my age. So her brain is telling her to pick up something, but she's not. Like, different stories, different frustrations, you know. Like, I remember meeting someone who was born with her amputations, and I was, like, comparing about what it was like and how hard it is, and they're like, I'm glad that I didn't have that experience because I don't have anything to miss. You know, they never adapted, you know. And another comparison is, like, I remember meeting someone, and they woke up from a coma with their amputations. And
That's be terrifying.
No.
insensitively, I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. Because they woke up like that. Like, I went through the process of having it cut off, and the recovery, it was not fun. It was very painful, but she was cool. She gets it. But it's cool to have those different perspectives and like different, you know, awareness of how people take different things and what good things can be in bad situations.
Yeah, it's definitely cool like that. Like, you did use this as like a way to turn it around and like do something like that's supremely great to do.
Yeah.
You're helping thousands, if not millions of people with your with the J.A.M.I.E group.
Yeah. I'm pretty modest about it.
And you're not creating, you're like, fear isn't what you're creating.
No.
You know, you're creating success.
I could totally bring it down and get into like goosebumps narrating about meningitis.
Yeah. No.
But no, I mean, it can be hard. A lot of people, I remember this mom being like, I have a son, he lost his leg recently and he hasn't gotten out of bed. He has a prosthetic, but he doesn't use it. He just sits there. And she's like, what advice would you give him? And honestly, like, gotta give him time. My advice would be, it's yourself that's going to make yourself do something. You can't have, especially when someone tells me to do something, like I'm more inclined to not do it. And it's going to take a minute, but you know, if you pull it from yourself, and you're the one that's going to make the change. Like, yes, you have all the support, but it's you that's going to make the difference. And you doing those rehabs sessions all the time, like those are necessary. And I know that you don't want to go outside and see the world and have them see you and deal with stares, but unfortunately that's part of recovery. And people stare all the time. That's a whole new world. Like, I was like this cute girl in college, like, yes, I'm on my own. And then, boom, you're not on your own. You're back at your mom's house. And which is really cute because she made food all the time and took me to school. It was cute.
Better than dorm food, that's for sure.
in college years. And so my mom was just so helpful within the process of it, like making sure people weren't staring. She would go up to people like, you got a problem? And,
She
which is
sounds like
awesome.
an awesome woman.
She's
She
pretty cool.
fought for you at the Capitol.
Yes.
And then she sticks up for you doing your recovery process.
If you just met her, you'd be like, yeah, that's obviously Jamie's mom. She's really sweet. She's super sweet. But yeah, the stigma factor was very difficult. Yeah, so being from a cute little girl to like super skinny, like walking so slow. Each step, like the class bell rings, everyone's like rushing, and I'm like a turtle going up the stairs, and people are coming down the railing, and I'm like so dependent on the railing. I'm like, go around.
I guess you're on prosthetics at that time, not a wheelchair.
Well, at the time, and prosthetics. At the time, I was so like wanted to not be a stigma, and so what I'm wearing right now are just basic prosthetic legs. So to blend in, they're called covered legs. So it's a regular prosthetic legs with plaster on top of it, and they're painted to look like legs, and you know they look like legs, but they're heavier. So it's a prosthetic leg with more stuff onto it. And imagine putting pants on it. That's why I don't really wear pants, actually. I'm wearing shorts. Just to clarify.
She's wearing...
Just to clarify. But just like the process of getting it over your foot, because your foot, you point when you put your shoes in. I don't. So I have to make sure that they're stretchy pants, which obviously you should always wear.
Luckily, those are
pants,
in now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so when I was going to school at that time, I had covered legs, so a lot of people didn't really notice, like, why is this girl taking forever on the stairs? And then also at the time, I was living off Duval and 38th, and there's like a bus stop right there, and getting into my car was an ordeal, and people would be staring all the time. If you caught me at the wrong time of the month, I would murder you if you were staring at me. And, you know, it was just a new thing, but luckily being in Austin, you know, the motto, keeping things weird. I wouldn't say I'm a weird person, but it's a unique feature that I have, I guess. And I feel like that's what made me strive into being this unique, owning my new body in a sense, and just killing it.
How do you see your life if you were to not have gotten meningitis and just be healthy?
Such a great question. I think about that all the time, actually.
What would be different? Would you be as active, and
I wouldn't be an advocate, because I wouldn't have interacted with this. I wouldn't have met all these amazing, famous people that I've worked with in my life, which isn't like an amazing quality to love about, but I wouldn't have that law. I wouldn't be saving people. A lot of people would be getting, not surviving, which is really hard. But I also think about like the things that I have in my life and like the relationship that I have. I did know him before I got sick, so I feel like we would have been together. But like those things, like what career what would I have been in?
Yeah, what were you studying in college at the time? Pharmacy. Did you graduate with that degree still?
No.
What do you?
Because I was in the hospital for so long. I was like, I'm good. And left and went back to school and did human development and family sciences. I almost forgot what it was. And basically the sociology. I learned people and interactions and love and the brain and how that is all connected. It was a fascinating degree. I wouldn't change it for anything. And also it helped me isolate different emotions that I was having or recognizing it and like my behaviors because of X, Y, and Z, like being a stigma or something like that. Like one of my labs it's called I think it was called a child lab. And basically you go to the daycare. I think it was mainly the professors' kids that were there.
Yeah, we had one of those on the Texas Tech campus too.
It was really cool. You had to sit there and just write down. You follow this one kid and you would write down all these random notes, and I was worried that I would throw off the study. But which also taught me that kids don't notice anything as long as you don't bring it to their attention. So with my legs out, not wearing a long skirt or anything, I would just sit there and they never noticed. And so when I'm like on a street or at the mall, like very kid prone area, as long as I don't make eye contact, it's bizarre how they don't notice. It's very interesting. I love this dynamic of like seeing different social aspects. It was a very unique college experience, I would say. I want to write a book at some point.
Yeah, it's definitely book worthy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it would be titled My Unique College Experience. Because all this happened while in college. The law passing, the J.A.M.I.E group, and also getting on the U.S. cycling team. Like that was all very new.
I saw that on I didn't know that there's a U.S. cycling team. I just knew that there's a picture of you on the front page of your website of you in like a cycling uniform staying in front of a bike. So, how long have you been doing that?
So before I got sick, I was a regular Austinite commuting on my bicycle every day. And when I was in the hospital, I was like, how am I going to, meet people? I wasn't thinking about getting on my bike whatsoever because the first thing you do when you meet someone, you shake their hand. And sometimes people have jumped. It happens. I'm not going to blame them. I'm not going to be like, oh, you know, you get it. You can fill in the blank. And basically, oh gosh, where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So when I was in the hospital, I met someone at St. David's when I did rehab there. He was my occupational therapist and he had one arm, which is a cool role model for occupational therapy. Who's, opening things with like one hand forever.
Do you have a prosthetic or just no, just nothing?
Yeah, and it was like right at the shoulder.
Okay, yeah.
It was cut. His name's One Arm Bob. He's cool with it. And he basically was also on the U.S. Paralympic cycling team back in 2000. I think Australia was that year, and he won silver.
Oh, wow.
And I'm there like 80 pounds in a hospital bed. He's like, you're going to do it too. And I'm like, get out of here, random dude. Anyways, he was right. So he introduced me to a trainer because I was so frail, lost muscle mass. Don't trust me on a bicycle at that point. And after a couple months of strengthening and getting comfortable with my balance, I was on a bike, and the trainer is also a cycling coach. So it was like a great dynamic. And he's awesome. I owe him a lot. And he basically has introduced me to the right people. I did the Live Strong Challenge shortly after training for a little while and did 12 miles. And It was awesome. I've never felt more elated. My cheeks hurt within minutes after crossing the finish line, of course. Before that, it's miserable. But then I was at a time trial. A time trial is obviously a trial that is timed.
Yeah.
And basically I was told that if you don't go fast enough halfway to the point where you feel like death, you're not doing it right. You have to have like tunnel vision, like you're going so hard you could pass out. Anyway, so I'm at this really unique experience in Oklahoma, and there's this guy there, and he's asking me questions about my hands and how I use my bike with my new hands and my legs. And to answer that question, so if you're thinking about a bike and the handlebars, the brakes are on the other side from you of the handlebars, right? And you use your fingers to grab
you
it.
curl around it.
They flip the brakes on my side instead of the far side, and so I just pushed into it.
Ah, okay.
That's it. And he's asking me this because he's a U.S. Paralympic cycling coach, and he's wondering what category I would qualify in, because he's already thinking, he's like, oh yeah, this girl's great.
That's cool.
And so after talking for a little while, he was like, do you want to go to Road Nationals Championship? And I was like, yeah. And I went and competed and won in my division.
Wow.
Which was interesting. And that was the most professional cycling situation I've ever been a part of. And I was overwhelmed, so much media. And at that time, I wasn't really in front of the media that much. And it was just very intense. And also seeing all these different bodies compete, like someone with a leg completely missing going at it with just the other leg pedaling through, or someone with missing an arm, and it was very cool. Anyway, so I won and went home with the jersey, and he asked, I didn't know what was going to happen after that. I went back to school, and he was like, hey, do you want to compete again, but with the U.S. Paralympic cycling team? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I went and competed with them. So that was in 2011 of November, and we went to the Pan American Games in Guadalajara and competed
cool.
Dang.
in like 4 different events, and had the red, white, and blue swag bag, and so much Nike apparel, and like meeting different countries and how competitive they were living in the village. After that, I think I just came home realizing that I wanted to finish on school, because I took a semester off just to compete for a little while, and it just wasn't for me at the time. I currently still love riding my bike. I just got a new bike. And I still keep in touch every now and then with my former teammates, and I'm very grateful for that experience. I'm humbled and overwhelmed that actually happened. Like, saying it out loud is like bizarre, because I wasn't someone that had dreams of being on the Paralympic team, you know, and the opportunity was almost like handed to me, and it was awesome. And I took every moment with so much gratitude and just learned so much from it, and wouldn't change it at all. It was a good experience. Even like being 9 years from getting out of the hospital, people would be like, do you wish that it never happened, and then you wouldn't have all of these experiences?
Yeah.
In the beginning, I was like, no, I'd love to go back to that situation, because there was like an artist that I met when I was in the hospital that I was a big fan of, Ghostland Observatory.
Oh, yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, they visited me.
My friend just went to their concert.
They performed like 1 or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on my Facebook feed.
They're awesome. They're super friendly, and I'll show you the signed vinyl that I have upstairs.
Wow.
Like all these crazy opportunities. I feel like now I'm at this point where like I wouldn't trade it at all, just because there's so many great benefits. There's lives I'm being saved. I think that's the most important part of the experience.
But personally, you got some cool stories to tell.
Yeah,
which is
some
nice.
very interesting people that I got to work with. So it's very cool.
So we got 2 more questions then that we usually kind of end on. My first one is, do you have anything that you want to like sign off on, like any words of wisdom, anything that's happening to the J.A.M.I.E group you want to announce?
Right. I've been more so taking over the J.A.M.I.E group for the past like 1.5 years. So that's why there was like an update with the website and getting more newsletters out there. And then I had a fundraiser, and I was planning on having one this year, but then I got engaged. So yeah, with the J.A.M.I.E group, swinging back to that, it's definitely a grassroots organization, and we're so happy to be. And thank you for letting me share my story with your audience. I am so grateful for that.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on the show.
And for you to also speak to nonprofits, that's amazing. That's why you got an award, probably, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's about you guys. It's not about It's not about us.
Yeah,
it's about you guys.
It's what we cover. It's not.
Yeah. We just like to spread the awareness.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So with the J.A.M.I.E group, we're kind of keeping it mellow. I try to update and blog as much as I can. Like August is Meningitis Awareness Month primarily because school's starting, and that's you to
makes sense
into your vaccine routine. I would say a good sign off would be if you're listening and you are concerned about meningitis coming to you in December 2017. It's coming. No, but definitely talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor about what your vaccine history is, and also if you got moved and you don't have your medical records, it's okay for you to get it again. And if you're under 18 and listening to this and you are not insured, I would suggest going to Vaccines for Children website, and they will help you getting vaccines. If you have any questions, please come to the JAMIEgroup.org for more information, or email me directly, jamie@thejamiegroup.org, and I'll be happy to respond. And question number 2.
Yeah, so we're everyday superhumans. So if J.A.M.I.E group could be a superhero, which superhero would it be? And what would your superpowers consist of?
It's so interesting. I definitely thought of the immunizer immediately, but it's so interesting because immunizations is such a hot topic. It is such a hot topic. And I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings about like your strong opinions about not being vaccinated. But if I can say, yes, mainly people are worried about foreign things going into their child's lives, and it could lead to something else like them getting sick. I get it in a sense of that's your thought, but the reality is you're protecting your child. Like by not getting vaccinated, you're literally playing Russian roulette with your child's life. Like, yeah, she might not get sick, but she also might die, or he. And I'm sorry, but that is the truth. That also, when it comes to vaccination and not getting it, let's say I'm a mother who decides not to do vaccination and my child's going to school unvaccinated and he's playing with all these other kids. And then what if there's a kid there that's immune compromised and they can't get vaccines? They can't be protected. You're passing this bacteria onto these kids who can't protect themselves.
Yeah, there's the word for herd immunity.
Yes.
Herd immunity.
So when you're all together and you're all vaccinated, that's ideal, right? But there's situations where the kids can't get vaccinated because of their own situation. So I highly encourage for you to only make your child be vaccinated, but also be aware that you're risking other people for getting sick if you're not being vaccinated. So thank you. I guess so when it comes to superhuman powers, I would say, the immunizer sounds cool.
That's cool. It's a good name. I picture you like walking around with like a giant syringe and
it
just
would be painless. No, it would be painless. It would be like laser beams coming out of my eyes that feel like, oranges that you're eating. Like it tastes good.
That'd be great.
Get
me immune again. To learn more about the J.A.M.I.E group and meningitis, check out JAMIEgroup.org to inform yourself more on the dangers of meningitis and how vaccines can help you not only save your life, but the people around you. You can also follow J.A.M.I.E and the J.A.M.I.E group on Twitter at JAMIEgroup14, and you can also get in the know at their Facebook by searching for J.A.M.I.E group in the search bar. And finally, you could personally follow J.A.M.I.E herself on Instagram at jshanabam. That's JSCHANBAUM.
Feeling bad about the world? Does a 24/7 news cycle keep you down? Never fear, Everyday Superhumans is here. Restore your faith in humanity at everydaysuperhumans.com, where you can learn all about the people making the world a better place. You can also follow us on Twitter at SuperhumansCast, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/everydaysuperhumans, and check out our Instagram at everydaysuperhumans.
Did this episode restore your faith in humanity? Then be sure to subscribe to Everyday Superhumans on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Podcast Republic, Pocket Cast, or wherever you get your podcast. And if you're feeling really generous, be sure to donate to our Patreon at patreon.com/everydaysuperhumans.
And remember, not every hero has to fly, so grab your cape and let's go. Okay.
All right, let's go. You got your coffee. I don't have my coffee, but whatever.
Okay, but I have your shirt.
You do.
Hi.
Wearing my old shirt.
Literally taking the shirt off a friend's back.